Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special webinar. The work of the ARC Network began over 7 years ago, and with committed leadership and invested team members and an engaged community, we have been able to navigate difficulties while growing in our role as the Advanced Resource and Coordination Network, with our focus to support efforts to drive change. In that growth, we are constantly forging new partnerships and welcoming new community members, such that we wanted to host this webinar to highlight who we are, what we do, and how we do it, including through the Advance Equity and STEM community convening. Today, you will hear from people who are critical to our community and the work of driving change, such that they've become a part of ARC's leadership. For example, Dr. Tiffany Smith, who is Director of Research and Career Support for ACES, which advances Indigenous peoples in STEM. Well, not quite 3 years ago, Tiffany agreed to join us as a keynote speaker at the return of the community convening in 2022. So we mean what we say when whether you are new to ARC or not. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to driving change with you. To introduce myself, I am Dr. Stephanie Page, ARC Network co-PI and Managing Director of Programs, Strategic Initiatives, and Community Engagement for ARC's home organization, WEPAN. Today, you will hear from project directors from the NSF ADVANCE Program and members of the Advanced Journal team, in addition to the ARC Network team. While the information you receive today will be introductory, please take this as an opportunity to begin to engage with them more as you deepen and expand your work to drive change and advance equity in STEM. Please feel free to drop your questions that you may have in the Q&A or in the chat, and we will get to answering some questions toward the end of the webinar. Before we get into our conversation, I wanted to share a little bit about WEPAN as the home organization for the ARC Network. The Women in Engineering Proactive Network, or WEPAN, was founded in 1990 by Suzanne Brainard, Jane Zimmer Daniels, and Susan Chaffin-Metz, leaders of women in engineering programs and higher education institutions. WEPAN's mission is to advance cultures of diversity, equity, and inclusion in engineering spaces from education to career, with emphasis on women. WEPAN has served as a home organization for the ARC Network since 2021, and prior to that had a long history with Advance. I remember early on in my time at WEPAN coming across historical documents, including slide decks, where WEPAN founders and board members were sharing about what was then the new NSF ADVANCE program. The home departments of some of WEPAN's founders were also home to some of the early ADVANCE grantees. And over the years, many of our institutional members, board members, and founders have become a part of the ADVANCE community. In my opinion, glowing example, today, ARC Network co-PI and Executive Director of Graduate Fellowships for STEM Diversity, Dr. Rochelle Williams, also serves as WEPAN's board president. And we want to take a moment to wish Rochelle safe travels on her way to the ABET NSF Belong Summit. I want to shift now to introduce someone who many of us know, and I hope that you take time to get to know more. Program Director for NSF ADVANCE, Dr. Jessie Diarra. And Jessie, I'm going to shift share to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I am going to try and share a screen as efficiently as possible. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Stephanie. And I'm super happy that we were able to get together and do this pre-meet EISCC conference meeting via webinar, so we can build excitement for the meeting and hopefully give people some context for why we have this meeting and what the community is all about. So the ADVANCE program was conceptualized in, you guessed it, a working group, a committee, like we all know exists in higher education. That's how we get things done. A committee at NSF in the 1998 and 1999, and became a program, making its first awards in 2001 under the leadership of NSF Director Rita Caldwell and Deputy Director Joseph Bordogna. Let's see, we can do both at the same time. So I wanted to introduce the program to you a little bit and make clear the model of the program, which is an NSF grant program. So although there have been changes in the program since 2001, and we are approaching our 25th anniversary, the first there has been consistency in the program. The first of which is the focus on making grants to institutions of higher education to critically examine how effective their organization is at recruiting and retaining and promoting all the available and excellent STEM faculty candidates that are out there, and drawing on the decades of research on organizational change and social and behavioral sciences that indicate that underrepresentation in STEM careers and STEM academics is not necessarily just a choice that individuals make, but is heavily influenced by the systemic barriers that might exist within institutions of higher education that impede the participation of all faculty. And so the first cornerstone is organizational change mechanisms. So this is one of the many facets of the program that make it different from other federal investments in broadening participation, which often focus on supporting individuals so that they can survive in their STEM educational programs and careers, whereas the ADVANCE program is trying to make it so that no one needs survival skills to have a thriving, successful academic career. And this slide just shows you some of the places where systemic issues might impact the inclusion and access of individuals to academic careers. Okay. The second cornerstone is a focus on equity and ensuring that the academic workplace is fair and just. And in this slide, you can see some examples of where the workplace is not showing a fair and equitable workplace in terms of pay differentials between faculty based on gender over time, and in terms of workload for service work, which is differentially assigned to and carried out by individuals based on their gender and other factors we know. And so this also means that we're working to fix the underlying issues that cause the lower participation of individuals in STEM academic careers. Okay. The third cornerstone is the focus on this very important slice of the entire STEM workforce in the country, and that is the faculty STEM workforce, because of their important role both in determining the research agenda in science and engineering for the country via their proposals to funding organizations and via their operation of their labs, but also in mentoring and educating the next generation of scientists and engineers. If we can improve STEM faculty equity and ensure that all qualified excellent people who want to go into academic careers are able to go into those careers and be the mentors and role models and leaders in research for the country, then that is what we're looking for. So that's why we focus on STEM workforce as the slice of the focus of the advanced program. And that is also a little different than other programs that focus on broadening participation, which may be more generic and look at all STEM disciplines and the undergraduate or the K-12 level or something like that, which is much more broad in their focus. And then recently, we've added a fourth cornerstone to the program, and that is intersectionality. And recognizing that gender, the experiences of individuals is different based on all of the identities that they bring to their workplace. And if we want to reach our goal for the desired equitable workplaces for all STEM faculty, that we need to encourage the program and our grantees to think about the intersection of gender and other social identities that can impact the experiences of those individuals in the academic workplace. And so this is, I believe, an important change to the program, but more recent in 2016. So these are the four cornerstones of the program. And we do support organizational change within institutions of higher education, but also with other organizations such as professional societies, because of their role influencing the culture and climate for academic workers. Okay. So one of the, as I mentioned before, we are reaching the 25th anniversary of the program, and we have made significant investments across the country in different types of institutions to do this work. I'll share with you the description of the types of grants for institutions of higher education, and we have a pathway for institutions to begin with a catalyst and do self-assessment work to determine if they have equity issues and where they are and what the underlying reasons are for them. And then we have the adaptation project where you can implement evidence-based strategies. But then also after that, the institutional transformation where you would be continuing your institutional changes, but also contributing original research and innovation and systemic change strategies. So over the course of the 25 years, we've funded over 300 different institutions across the country in all the states and Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia, except for Wyoming. So if you're calling from Wyoming, I hope that to see a proposal, please get in touch with us. We would love to see a proposal from Wyoming. But despite that, we've only reached 3% of all the institutions of higher education in the country because our funds are limited. Fortunately, though, our impact goes beyond our institutions that have received grants. And one of the ways that we try to ensure that that impact is shared with others is the investment in the Advanced Resource Coordination Network at WEPAN to help us communicate more broadly with individuals who are interested in doing this work, and by creating the resource library, which you'll hear about in a little bit, and other tools and information that anyone can use and tap into if they're interested in pursuing systemic change that's intersectional in nature to address inequities in STEM, in our case for faculty, but a lot of these strategies can be used for other workforce areas as well. And so I think I am wrapping up with one slide that just has our email, our generic email, which is advance@nsf.gov, which will go to the entire program office team so that we can respond to your questions, set up a meeting to talk to you about your project ideas. We're more than happy to spend time with you as you are thinking about what type of award might be work for your institution where you're at right now. The institutions that have already had an adaptation or an institutional transformation cannot get another one. So in this way, we're trying to expand our reach by increasing the number of institutions out there doing this work. So if you have not had one of these grants yet, we would love to talk with you about getting you set up and positioned to do that in our next competition. And you can contact us here at the advance@nsf.gov. And we do have recordings of proposal preparation webinar preparation so that you have a heads up on all the things that you need to include in a proposal, in addition to the language in the solicitation calling for proposals. And so I will turn it over now back to, I think, Virginia and Bethany at the ARC Network. And thank you for your time and attendance today. And I hope that we will see you at the convening in June in Puerto Rico. And also that we'll hear from you if you're interested in pursuing an advanced project in the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jessie. And I want to encourage our audience as we're shifting share to Virginia and Bethany, do not take lightly the invitation to look at the webinars on proposal preparation and to reach out. This is a team that is open and welcoming to hear from us all, and let's root for Wyoming. So I'm going to shift share to Virginia and Bethany. And well, let's see, it got mad at me. There we go. And they're going to share a little bit about ARC.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and hello, everyone. As Stephanie said, my name is Virginia Rhodes, and I am the project director of the ARC Network, and I'd love to share just a little bit about us and what we do. So ARC stands for the Advanced Resource and Coordination Network. We're funded by a cooperative agreement between NSF ADVANCE and our home organization, WEPAN. And the main goal of the ARC Network is to connect scholars and practitioners committed to STEM equity in an engaged stakeholder community. So as the STEM Equity Brain Trust, the ARC Network aims to remove barriers to resources, advance the research on intersectional gender equity issues, and reduce duplication of efforts. The ARC Network is built on and works through the 3 I's framework, integrating inclusion, intersectionality, and intentionality. So we hope to enable intentional dialogue between researchers and practitioners, connect inclusiveness to organizational principles and practices, and then account for and incorporate intersectional perspectives throughout our work. So we really strive to ensure that our work accounts for those social stratifications that intertwine to determine people's unique identities and the experiences that they face on a daily basis. And the ARC Network works to promote systemic change by engaging the community in multiple ways. So this is through our resources, programs, and events. So we kind of touched on like the resource library, which our community librarian will speak about in a little bit here. We have our email newsletters, our ARC website, and through social media. We also host multiple programs, so our emerging research and emerging issues workshops, and our virtual visiting scholars program that we have every year as well. And lastly, our events, so our advanced equity and STEM community convening, which we'll talk on a little bit more. I hope to see you all there this year. Our town halls, and then webinars such as this one, where you get to know a little bit more about ARC, WEPAN, and what people are doing in this community. So to learn more about the ARC Network, I do encourage you to visit our website, equityandstem.org, and find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter at ARC Equity and STEM and #EquityandSTEM. And now I'll pass it over to our community librarian, Bethany Farmer, who will talk a little bit more about the resource library.
Thank you, Virginia. So one of the resources that provided by the ARC Network is the resource library, where you can access records and information related to equity and STEM. So the big thing here is that we have over 9,000 resources in our library, including WEPAN's Knowledge Center. The library contains resources from a variety of disciplines, formats, and voices related to advancing equity and justice in STEM. And we strive to include voices and perspectives from places that are often excluded and undervalued in the STEM fields. And we also aim to ensure that disciplines often disassociated from STEM, such as the social sciences, are integrated and recognized as foundational to driving change. And we have multiple types of resources. So of course we have the peer-reviewed journal articles, but we also supply toolkits, policy documents, op-eds, presentation materials, etc. And the library is accessible to everyone free of charge, but it does require joining the ARC network as well as having a Mendeley account. And so one of the ways that we're trying to make information more accessible is by having live guides, which are available on the web without requiring logins or registration. So this is just a screenshot of a diversity, equity, and inclusion guide that I created that has some research and resources on specifically on states impacted by anti-DEI legislation. And lastly, to access the live guides, you can go to wepan.liveguides.com. And if you need help with the guides or with resources in the library or with your research, feel free just to email me at bethany@wepan.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you to both of you. And I want to share that it's always great to be able to highlight our team members. And please, over the year and throughout the year, and even at the convening, feel free to meet us and get to know us and let us know if you need things from us. And while we transition, I'm going to pin someone I mentioned earlier today, someone who got looped in after and became a part of the ARC team after joining us as keynote in 2022 for the convening, and our PI, so Dr. Tiffany Smith and ARC Network's PI, Dr. Heather Metcalf, and I'm going to shift to share as Tiffany and Heather introduce themselves a little more.
Widow for that introduction and enthusiasm, Stephanie. I appreciate the introduction. And I'm just so happy to be a part of this team and honored. I just wanted to say in my language, Sionagata, Dr. Tiffany Smith, Dagwadoa, Chichalagi, and Muskogee. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Tiffany Smith, as Stephanie said. I serve as a co-PI on this project. And yes, if you want to get looped in more, it's easy to do with this group. They're phenomenal. I was invited to be a keynote back in 2022 and then got drawn in to be a part of the ARC Network grant as a co-PI and helping to plan this amazing convening. And that was my first experience, was back in 2022. And it's definitely kept me wanting to come back for more and seeing as it's evolved over time. And this year is even more exciting as we have our convening in San Juan, Puerto Rico, right? June 1st to the 4th, 2025. So not only is it an amazing location with a very interesting history, it's also going to be such a beautiful place to convene for all of us. And so I think what I'm most excited about not only is, the convening, bringing all of us change makers together, those of us that work on these NSF ADVANCE grants, but those of us that really want to create systemic change within STEM. And I know that there's a lot of questions and a lot of concern right now with the anti-DEI rhetoric and action. But I think this is a time that we can all come together in a place that feels safe for us to talk about these issues that are currently at hand. And what I love most is the community that brings us all together during this time for the convening. I think that, the intimate gathering with like-minded folks and that get it and that want to have conversations and want to create solutions together. I think one of the most exciting changes to me that I've seen over the years is going to be the addition of affinity spaces for multiracial groups, also gender identity groups. We're going to be creating some different affinity spaces throughout the 3.5 days that we'll have together. And then we'll also have a couple of new additions that my colleague Heather Metcalf is going to talk about here in a moment, like the Latina Thrive piece. And then also happening is, so I work at ACES as Director of Research and Career Support, and we're going to be hosting for the first time ever in conjunction with this convening our rematriation program gathering on that first day. And so that's for Indigenous women in STEM to support their advancement in the STEM workplace. So very excited for all that's to come and to gather together, hear amazing keynotes, and to see these great poster presentations and sessions and conversate about what's happening right now in STEM and how we can make it more equitable for one another, especially in a beautiful place like San Juan. And I'm looking forward to engaging and hearing from the Tanos people, the original peoples of the land there in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So now I'm going to pass it on to Heather to talk a bit more about Thrive.
Thank you, Tiffany. I'm so glad to have you as a co-PI and that you allowed us to bring you more and more into the ARC network over time. My name's Heather Metcalf, and as Stephanie mentioned, I am PI of the ARC network. I also serve as Managing Director of Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship for our home organization, WEPAN. And I wanted to share a bit about something different that we're doing this year as part of our Advance Equity and STEM community convening. Ursula Sims, our Executive Director and CEO of WEPAN, and I both serve on the advisory board for another Advance grant, which is the Latina Thrive Partnership Grant that is at UTRGV. And the goal of this Advance Thrive Partnership, which is led by PI Dr. Ala Kabaj at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, is really to transform STEM departments at Hispanic serving institutions into psychologically healthy workplaces for faculty, with a particular emphasis on Latina faculty. The Thrive Project is currently in its summative year and has worked with 2 year-long cohorts of change teams led by STEM department chairs. And each year, the project hosts a Thrive Summit that brings together Latina faculty along with these change teams to really exchange the work that they've been doing and deepen their practice. This year, Thrive is going to be taking place at the Advance Equity and STEM community convening, which will really facilitate the exchange of knowledge, resources, and lessons learned through the exchange teams, the Thrive faculty participants, and the broader Advance Equity and STEM community. Throughout the convening, the Advance EiSCC attendees will have many opportunities to attend Thrive-specific sessions, to visit the Thrive posters, and to connect with the Thrive Summit participants. So we're really looking forward to having this as an element of this year's convening.
Thank you so much, Heather. And I just want to remind folks we're about halfway through, and please drop any questions that you may have in the chat. And I want to kind of just reiterate, like, part of the purpose. I hope you see how we are working to collaborate, to connect, and to build out better experiences for folks to combine forces. I like to use the term equity Voltron, and do the work that we're doing together and in spaces that are supportive. And that leads us to our next set of speakers. I'm going to go ahead and pin Dr. Nithya and Dr. Serena from the Advance Journal. And Serena, if you would like to go ahead and share screen, it'd be great.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We are so delighted to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity for us to share about the Advance Journal. This has been such a great community. I love that Stephanie kind of bridged by reiterating how we are stronger together in this great thing. And so Nithya is going to try to share screen, and if it doesn't go, we'll just kind of go with voice. But my name is Serena Saturn. I use she, they pronouns, and we're really excited to tell you about the Advance Journal. So just to back up a little bit, I was a co-PI of the Advance Journal, the Advance Grant that came to Oregon State University many years ago. We were really aspiring to infiltrate these great themes around difference, power, and oppression, which has been a mainstay of the university for decades, and to provide these trainings in anti-oppression and equity to STEM faculty, which was kind of like our superpower, so to speak. The advancedjournal.org, you can see it on the screen there. And let me just talk to you a little bit about what we're all about. So I am one of the editors of the journal, alongside Susan Shaw and Kelly Mack. Susan is the PI of the grant, and Kelly Mack was our program officer at the time. And Nithya is our postdoc, our managing editor right now. And so that's been really wonderful. And I'll let her speak in a little bit. And so let me just tell you a little bit about the mission of the Advance Journal. We're really providing a forum to publish peer-reviewed related scholarship to things around inclusion, equity, and justice in higher education. And so we are seeking a lot of works that really address systems of oppression, intersectionality, and strategies for resistance in all levels of inquiry, but especially in STEM-focused disciplines. This has been such a beautiful offering and a way of community building. We have a lot of things that we've published, from everything from regular research articles, but I'm also really proud that we do a lot of mixed media as well. We have these regular issues devoted to these areas that I articulated, and we also have special issues, and we've been honored to have Stephanie as one of our special editors and our guests. And so we've had these special issues, one about the 20th anniversary of the NSF ADVANCE Grant, and Jesse reminded us they're up on 25 years coming up now. We also had some special issues devoted to who was most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's probably no surprise, it's folks from the advanced community who are trying to keep up with their research and scholarship, as well as all of their caregiving responsibilities as well. I'm especially proud of the special issues that we've had on institutional betrayal and academic trauma. This is very much inspired by my own institutional betrayal and academic trauma. I'm a neuroscientist by training, and Stephanie and I and many in our community have discussed, if you are a champion for equity and community building and student activism and faculty activism, oftentimes they will violently come against you for speaking truth to power and trying to dismantle these systems that were not built for us. And so we are very proud of the journal because we go against kind of these dominant system narratives about high rejection rates, mean mentors and reviewers. And also we're a very nurturing group, and we have that style around mentorship for everything that we publish. And so we were at the convening last year, and I'm so glad, and I hope many of you will join us in Puerto Rico. It was such a wonderful experience for me personally. Like, these are my people, the people fighting for justice and equity from the STEM fields. And the Advance Journal has been such a great place to kind of build community as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Nithya, who is going to share a little bit more about some of our more recent developments that we're very excited about.
Thank you, Serena, and thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here as part of this webinar, and like Stephanie emphasized many times, talk about the ways in which all of the work we do towards, equity and justice really connect with one another. So Serena talked about, our special issues, the last one on institutional betrayal and academic trauma. We had such an overwhelming response that we actually put out 3 issues, and we're working on the 3rd issue now that will come out shortly. I'm excited to bring your attention to our next special issue, which is called Behind Enemy Lines, Advancing the Work of Inclusion, Equity, and Justice in Precarious Times and Places. The call is still out and open. You can see it on our website, advancejournal.org. So this issue actually seeks to respond to the highly coordinated and concerted attacks on academic freedom and inclusion, equity and justice efforts, and the elimination of DEI initiatives. I know there was a question to this effect in the Q&A. And we're really hoping to collect narratives from faculty in STEM and beyond who are responding to these challenges in various ways and the ways in which they're continuing to do this work, despite the various kinds of risks that they face for doing this work, especially in certain states where it's become illegal to do DEI work. And we have put together a panel of amazing guest editors who are interdisciplinary scholars with vast experience in higher education and equity work, who will be guest editing this issue. We have Dr. Marcia Owens, Dr. Wei-Ming Dariotis, Dr. Kalinda Eaton, and Dr. Michelle Tracy Berger. Please watch our LinkedIn space for, we're doing profiles on these amazing guest editors. And submissions are due February the 4th. So write to us with questions or, please submit and share the word about the special issue. We are also very excited to be to go to the Equity in STEM convening in Puerto Rico this summer. We will be presenting a panel on the topic of our special issue on the attack on DEI at the conference, and we'll be joined by some of our guest editors. We hope it'll be an amazing panel and you'll come if you're there. And we are especially excited to bring you a pre-conference workshop at the Equity in STEM convening, which is called The Art and Science of Storytelling, Sharing Your Journey to Pave the Way for Equity. This workshop is aimed to help participants through self-reflection, collaborative writing exercises, and anchoring practices to draw on their experience in academia to create powerful personal scholarly narratives that highlight the systemic issues of discrimination, bias, and racism in higher education spaces. The work we've done, especially around the last special issue on institutional betrayal, we realized that people are really interested in telling their personal stories about academic trauma, but also how it connects to larger systems. So this workshop is aimed at helping scholars do that. And this workshop will be offered by our own amazing Dr. Serena Satin, who has done amazing work on trauma and healing. Dr. Tiffany Bethor, who's a very powerful personal scholarly narrative we published on Advance, you can look it up. Dr. Emma Coddington, who is a scientist and art practitioner, and Dr. Anne-Marie Canio, who with Stephanie was one of the co-editors, guest editors of our last issue. And Dr. Canio's latest work is around how liberation practices can transform higher education workplaces. So we have these 4 amazing scholars and practitioners who bring different strengths and expertise to this workshop. And if you are in Puerto Rico, we hope you will join us at this workshop. We'll also have a table with an amazing interactive art exhibit, art exercise, and lots of other fun things. So I want to end by saying, share the work of Advance Journal, write to us at advance@oregonstate.edu. I'll drop it in the chat with any questions or ideas about things you want to publish. We work with grad student authors to mentor them and help them hone their work. We publish a lot of studies and articles coming out of advanced projects, as well as other articles on equity, inclusion, and justice. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And as we transition to our next amazing speaker, I do want to really highlight the practice of the Advance Journal in changing how we think about supporting dissemination supporting the publication process. It has been healing to work with these folks. And so I just want to express my gratitude there. And while I'm on the gratitude wave, I am welcoming another one of our amazing program directors from NSF ADVANCE, Dr. Carrie Ann Sather-Wagstaff. I hope, again, that you reach out and engage with her to learn more about NSF ADVANCE and getting funded. And I will hand it over to you, Dr. Carrie Ann.
Great. Thanks very much. I'm Dr. Carrie Ann Sather-Wagstaff. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the other co-lead for the ADVANCE program alongside Dr. Tiaro. I'm going to be very brief. This is all I'm going to tell you about. So just wanted to highlight some of the opportunities that you'll have during the convening in order to engage with NSF, in particular with the ADVANCE team, Jesse and myself. So we will, throughout the convening, have networking lunches, including lunch with tables designated for different NSF programs. And there'll be more information about those as the date approaches. I know that some of our colleagues, for instance, from social behavioral and economic sciences will be there, for instance. On Sunday, June 1st, we have a slate of activities for folks that we especially hope that folks who are new to ADVANCE in one form or another will be able to attend. So if you're a new grantee, we'll have an orientation session on that Sunday at 1 p.m., followed by a general Q&A that's open to everyone. And then for those who are really trying to figure out what's going on is after the wonderful art session that the ADVANCE Journal will be running at 5:15, we'll have a session on thinking about submitting an ADVANCE proposal. So we really want this to be an opportunity for current and prospective ADVANCE community members to be able to get all the information and make the connections that they need in order to start moving forward on their work. And then on the Tuesday, so the penultimate day of the conference, what a great word, starting at 2:30, you will have the option to I think, take a break and wander around and see the sites, or to come and have a chat with me and or Jesse, probably me, maybe some others from other NSF programs, but we'll have some office hours and we'll send out information about how to sign up for those as the date approaches. So thanks a bunch. Looking forward to engaging with everybody. If you are on the fence about participating in the convening, you've got to. It is one of the most incredible environments and communities I've ever had the privilege to engage with. Just the community and the love and the support. It's just really, really, really incredible. So I strongly encourage you to join us in Puerto Rico in June. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Carrie Ann. And I have to say, you are a major part of that environment that we all get to experience. And we are really grateful. And as we sort of turn the corner to the last little bit of today's webinar, really, I hope that folks understand and see that the ability to do this work in community and collaboration with each other is an incredible part of the benefit. And I do want to share, as Carrie Ann mentioned, some folks from the NSF Directorate for Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences, which supports basic research on people and society, will be in attendance. And there's some information on the Directorate and other opportunities that is being dropped into the chat. And as we prepare to transition to our next and final speaker before a couple of minutes of Q&A, I do want to go ahead and express more gratitude, if I can, from Dr. Carmen Maldonado Var, Dr. Yadilet Rivera Colon, Dr. Lizette Torres Gerald, and Dr. Lola Rodriguez Vargas, who took time and invested energy in us and providing guidance as we navigated identifying keynotes who embody driving change and advancing equity in STEM along with a love and appreciation for Puerto Rico. And with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Ursula Sims, ARC Network co-PI, Executive Director and CEO of WePan, and our convening chair to announce this year's keynotes. And I am going to get you pinned, Dr. Ursula.
Thank you, Stephanie. This year, we are excited to be joined by Dr. Carmen Maldonado Blar. She's a neurobiologist and professor at the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras. Dr. Gretchen Diaz Munoz, who's a microbiologist and director at the Ciencia, Puerto Rico. Dr. Wanda Diaz Merced, an astronomer and disability advocate. Miss Lucy Crespo, engineer and CEO at Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust. And last but most certainly not least, Dr. Elizabeth Davila Santiago. And she's an environmental microbiologist, bioinformatician, and associate researcher at Bard College. So over the coming months, you'll see us highlight our keynote speakers and other special guests. So make sure that you're following us if you're not already on social media and or signed up for the ARC Network and WePan newsletters. And I will now turn it back over to Stephanie and Virginia for our Q&A.
Thank you so much. And we did have a couple of questions in the chat. And so we want to go ahead and just ask folks, if you came in a little bit later, drop in an introduction about yourself. What's the work that you do related to advancing equity in STEM? Also, extra credit if you are an a travel grantee for the convening, and if you're interested in pursuing advanced grants. So I do want to pop to one question I saw in the chat regarding if you have participated in successful advanced grant but can't go for another one because of the limits on adaptation and transformation, how can we continue and expand our work? I saw that Kirian was kind enough to respond to say that you can still submit partnership awards. And I just want to see if Kirian or Jesse would like to add more to that, or if we have other folks in attendance who maybe want to tag on to that question. Let's see.
Well,
Okay.
so Carrie Ann didn't unmute yet. So, yeah, that's right. We have the partnership track, which I didn't mention in my introduction of the program, but that is an opportunity for anybody to put together a partnership of at least 2 organizations to implement a systemic change project that has national reach and significant impact, or regional reach and significant impact. And there's lots of ways to define that. So we're happy to talk to you about your project ideas. If you, some former advanced adaptation and IT grantees have done partnerships to share some of the strategies that have been effective at their institution, for example, and that might be a way to build on the work that you've already done.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And I think it also highlights a benefit of engaging with the community, learning more about other grantees, which we actually have on our webpage at equityandstem.org, access to means to search for other advanced grantees and identify potential tracks that align with your next steps. So this is part of why we ask folks to introduce themselves in the chat. So maybe there's some conversations and discussions and collaborations that can come from this. I also see a question saying, I see a draft of the program, but I'm wondering if it's too late to submit a poster or a panel. So in terms of sessions, our call for proposals are closed, and we are tight for space, which is, we'd rather be tight for space than than not have so many amazing people doing great work to share out with the community, but we may have space for posters. And so that will really be contingent on once we get our final numbers through. I would not come based on whether or not we have those slots, but what we can do is reach out, or excuse me, we can share information so that you can reach out if you already have a poster kind of idea and concept pulled together. And Virginia, I know this is a bit off the cuff. Could you let folks know what might work best for communicating with us on that?
Yeah, I would email the ARC email, the ARC at equityandstem.org email, and put in the subject line that you're specifically asking about presenting at the ADVANCE EiSCC, and then we can get back to you that way. That will be the best way to communicate. You'll get one of us will answer that email.
Thank you, Virginia. And I see that Carrie Ann has also dropped a link in the chat, and I'm assuming this is for signups for getting to talk one-on-one with Carrie Ann. So make sure you take her up on that offer, you all. Like this is, and I would say too, like, let's talk a lot about information and opportunity hoarding and how critical it is to overcome those barriers also. So it really does mean a lot for our program directors to really offer that time and space to interact and engage one-on-one. And Carrie Ann, do you want to add anything there?
Just wanted to say that's the general advanced program bookings link. So that's to get a meeting with me and or Jesse.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to, we have about 5 minutes left before we move to the closing, and I don't want to overlook these questions, but what you will see is that oftentimes in our webinars, a question might come up and we think, you know what, we might need to dedicate a webinar or a session or some other way of communicating information. And so we got a great question in the Q&A about, do you have resources on lessons learned from advanced grantees? We don't have a discrete collection of that, but there's a lot of information within connected communities that I think would really be supportive. And it can also, as we are referencing to what Carrie Ann mentioned, as we have some of those networking tables set up through the meals to talk with folks from different advanced grants who have experience or interest in those tracks, that's another way that we want to provide opportunity for folks to learn from each other. But if there is additional interest, please absolutely let us know. And, this is another way of our getting feedback. I think for the most part, Virginia, if you let me know if you see anything else, I think for the most part, I've gotten to the questions that I can see in the chat, but feel free to email us. If you have questions, NSF Advance team has shared their contact information. The Advanced Journal has also, and we are here for you as the ARC network team. Oh, hey, Dr. Olga. We can converse. We are past the term for applying for the travel award, but Dr. Olga, if you could just send an email, it could be helpful for us to learn a little bit more about interest in attending the EISCC, to potentially see if there is something that we can do. And I call Dr. Olga. Dr. Olga, she's amazing. I got to see her just was that November at NC State as a part of a caregiving workshop on supporting caregivers in STEM. So I want to give a shout out to Dr. Olga, who's also doing wonderful work. So we're at 3:58. We are close to time for closing. And I just want to express gratitude again to the ARC Network team, to the NSF Advance folks, to Dr. Jesse and Dr. Carrie Ann. And again, I'm going to say this 50,000 times. Please take them up on their offers to engage, to learn more about NSF Advance. Look up those webinars on proposal preparation. They are not trying to lead you astray, not one bit. They're trying to point you directly to the features and traits of successful grants. So thank you so much again to the Advance Journal, and please do not exclude yourself from being a potential published author through the Advance Journal. Ask questions, look up what is published in the journal. There's so much there, and please, I hope that you feel encouraged that the work that you do is worthy of being shared out with this broader community. And so with that, I'll look at Virginia and just say, do you have anything else to share before we head out?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would share with everyone is even if you are unable to attend our convening, which you should try and make every effort to attend, but if you can, if you have something else going on, I do encourage you to connect with us in other ways, attend our other webinars, view our past webinars, and look at our reports, go to our resource library. We'd love to engage with you and partner with you and connect with you and continue building our community. So I'd leave you with that.
Thank you. And just in case you want to attend virtually, we do have a virtual track and ticket option, and that information will be available soon. And with that, thank you all so much for taking time to join us. Thank you for the work that you do to drive change and advance equity in STEM spaces. And thank you to all of our amazing guest speakers for taking time out to share with this wonderful community. Thank you all so much, and we're signing off.